What's up guys, welcome back to another episode of Showcase Saturdays. Today we're going to be doing a sort of like ancillary Marvel figure look. So today we're going to be taking a look at my Ghost Rider, Iron Man Mark 1 and Wolverine figures. Really enjoy making these figures. Some of them have got some pretty cool features packed in, mostly just Ghost Rider if we're honest. But yeah, let's get to the showcase. Hope you guys enjoyed the showcase and enjoy, the figures themselves. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. Let's get to it. Alright guys, so first up, we're going to take a look at my Mark 1 Iron Man. So, admittedly, I'm not a massive Iron Man fan, Team Cap all the way. But I actually do really like Iron Man as well. I just prefer Captain America. And a while ago when Amazing Armory reopened, I actually managed to get my hands on this Mark 1 armor, which is one of their standout pieces. I think it's probably, if not the best piece they've ever done. And I finally got around to painting it after, getting into the whole Marvel hype. I'm actually a massive DC fan, but, the MCU has really made me love Marvel. And basically this was just a simple paint job of Amazing Armory's fantastic Iron Man Mark 1 sculpt. So what I did was I took a look at Hot Toys Iron Man Mark 1 2.0 figure, to get an idea of sort of the color of the plates I was looking for. And I also noticed when looking at the reference pictures that, I don't remember the movie incredibly well, but it looked as though, his armor was pulled together from pieces of scrap metal from like pieces of tanks and shells and, all types of weapons. So I really wanted to portray that with the armor pieces. So as you can see on his right foot, that armor piece where his toes would be is like a brownie camo, and then there's some green camo bits, and generally just an all around scuffed up metal look, which I achieved by actually airbrushing it with Vallejo gunmetal airbrush color, which turned out really nicely. And then that was dry brush silver, and also details were painted on with Citadel Stormhost silver. Then to add some pops of color, it's got that little red triangle at the back as well as the different colored wires. Those wires aren't entirely accurate, but I really wanted there to just be like some pops of color around the figure. Otherwise it would have been really dull, just brown and like the metal colors. It's also the yellow flamethrower on his right wrist, and then also obviously the center arc reactor in his chest piece. It would have been nice if I could have done like an LED light up function. Unfortunately, painting the white lights isn't that easy. Like painting like glowing surfaces like for reds or greens or blues or anything else is fairly easy, but the white is not that easy. So I struggled a bit there, but I think I got a pretty good effect going. That's about it for this figure. One thing I did want to mention is that while in the movie his eyes actually show through the eye holes in his helmets, I don't know, it was just weird on this figure. The helmet itself looks normally proportioned, but in terms of where that actually sits on a minifigure head, it's like at the very top, so it was a bit weird. So I decided to just paint that black. But yeah, let's move on to the next figure. So the second figure we're going to be taking a look at today is my custom classic Wolverine. As a kid, I grew up watching X-Men the animated series, and I absolutely loved them. So, this is always, for me, the essential Wolverine. Obviously, Hugh Jackman will always be the Wolverine, no matter who replaces him now that he's finished playing the character. But, I don't know, just as a kid, this was the Wolverine that I grew up with. So, if I was ever going to make a Wolverine, this would definitely be the first one. Maybe I'll revisit that and do a Hugh Jackman Wolverine, probably X-Men Origins, because even though that wasn't the best Wolverine movie we've ever got, that is certainly the coolest looking Wolverine. But anyways, onto the figure itself. So this was actually the very first figure I made using my custom casted muscle torso. So basically what I did was I sculpted like a muscular torso. As you can see, the back is muscular, and he's got like the six-pack going on and all of that stuff. As well as the arms, and then I casted that myself at home. Possibly in the future you guys will be able to buy that from me, maybe towards the end of this year, early next year. But anyway, this was the first figure I used that for, so I've got that paired off with the shoulder pads from KO Customs' Chrome Claw minifigure. some claws and, well, custom sculpted gauntlets, claws made of styrene with some sculpted details on his wrists, from where the claws come out, because in the comics they don't really protrude from between his knuckles. They sort of have like a silver piece on the top of his hand where they come from. Then also sculpted the belt as well as the boot tops. I'm trying to do a more simplistic design on the legs. A lot of my older figures have very sculpting intensive legs, and I don't know, it just makes them look quite chubby, and I always get comments saying thick. So yeah, I'm trying to stay away from that by just doing the simplistic legs with just sculpted boot tops or whatever. So and then obviously the cowl or the helmet or whatever you want to call it is by Lego. And then for this figure I actually used the ball jointed arms instead of some of my other figures now, which are quite new. You'll see in my next figure, which are actually magnetically attached. I like the ball jointed and the magnets thing, because then the arms don't brush up against the side of the figure and scrape off the paint, which is really irritating for me. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this figure turned out. You can actually pose his arms in like his lunging pose. Let's just get that, yeah, sort of like that. Like how he lunges at his person and stabs those into his chest. I always really liked that. I don't know if that was actually in the comics, but that's certainly a part of, Hugh Jackman's portrayal. So I really wanted that included. And then actually the paint scheme isn't the classic Wolverine as such. It's sort of not entirely which Wolverine costume. I'm not entirely sure which Wolverine costume it is, but it's certainly one of the more, it's obviously the classic with it being the blue and the yellow, but the actual design is a slightly updated Wolverine. I'm not too clued up on all of the specifics, but I prefer that design slightly to the very classic original suit. But yeah, I hope you guys liked this figure. Personally, this is one of my favorite figures I've made this year. Possibly because I'm a huge Wolverine fan. Possibly because it just turned out really well, in my opinion. But anyways, moving on to the final figure of the showcase, which is definitely the star. Let's get to Ghost Rider. And last, but most definitely not least, we have my custom Ghost Rider figure. So this is actually based off of Johnny Blaze, who I'm sure everyone remembers was portrayed by Nicolas Cage in the awful Ghost Rider and Ghost Rider 2 movies. I mean, they weren't terrible portrayals of Ghost Rider, the character. Ghost Rider is sort of psychotic and crazy, which Cage did fairly well. I don't know, the movies just as a whole were disappointing. I guess it's just they don't really hold up to the standard that the MCU has set. But obviously Ghost Rider has been thrust into the spotlight again recently with the introduction of, I can't remember the name of the guy who is Ghost Rider, but the Ghost Rider that appears in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is really awesome. But I wanted to go for Johnny Blaze because I like the whole motorcycle thing, and I really wanted to include the vehicle. Big props to Sander. He was helping me as I went along with this figure, and he suggested that I do the bike. I was originally just going to throw in a bike, but then I decided I can't make a custom Ghost Rider and just throw in some random Lego bike. It has to be properly done. So the bike is heavily inspired by the Ghost Rider movie bike, with the skull there that you can see, as well as the extended, arms or whatever those are called that hold the wheels in place. I don't know, I'm not very good with the technical terms there. With custom sculpted flames coming out of the front and back wheels, as well as the eyes of that skull. And then on the fuel tank, there's also custom sculpted skeletal hands there you can see. Just very much, almost exactly based off of the movie Ghost Rider bike, but the Ghost Rider himself is not entirely based off of Nick Cage's portrayal. It's sort of based off of comic book versions, as well as his portrayal, because obviously Johnny Blaze. I'd like to see more of Johnny Blaze. We did get a slight glimpse of him in the Ghost Rider scene from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where Robbie Reyes, that's his name, gets the actual spirit of vengeance attached to his soul, or whatever the correct term is. But what I went with here was just the classic Ghost Rider biker jacket, as well as chains and obviously flames. So the chains are from Forge World. Unfortunately, they don't make them anymore, so can't give you guys the link to go and buy them. But those chains were added to custom sculpted jeans, custom biker jackets, custom sculpted skeleton hands. Yeah, his hands were sculpted so that it looks like all bony, like Ghost Riders do, as well as a Crazy Bricks skull with custom sculpted flames. One thing that's really cool about this figure is that there is the inclusion of magnets, so his hands are magnetically attached, which is quite cool. Whoops, it's just, and that's broken. Let's just move that out the way. So both of his hands are attached with magnets, as well as at the shoulder, which is really cool because it prevents it from getting damaged. And also, I actually used a Lego skeleton torso as a base for this figure, both to get the thin look, so that it would be roughly the same, width and depth as a Lego torso, but also so that you could see some of the skull or skeleton showing through that opening in his bike jacket. But then obviously that meant that there were no joints, like no holes for the arms to go into. So I decided to just drill into the sculpted jacket a bit and use magnets there. It also has the added advantage of not scratching off all the paintwork. And then, his jeans were pretty simple. There was one very disappointing. I obviously also included a Brick Arms M887 lever action shotgun, that Johnny Blaze uses in the movie. I don't know if that's actually in the comics. I was finished with the figure and his hand looked empty, so I decided to just give him a gun as well. I know that Ghost Rider can obviously imbue things with hellfire, so I didn't really want to sculpt flames in his hands. I don't know, I'm not a huge fan of that, so I didn't do that. But a very disappointing thing with this figure was when I was finished its paint job looked awesome. I'd used a whole bunch of different glazes and coats and different shades of black and everything. You may be wondering shades of black, but like black and then very dark gray, which is called black gray, and a whole bunch of other stuff to try and differentiate his boots from his jeans, from his jacket, because of the different textures, because his jeans are obviously denim, his jacket and his boots are leather, and you can see a slight color difference here. But when I was finished, I sprayed the entire figure with Purity Seal from Games Workshop, and I don't know what happened, but I think there might have been a defect in the can that I used, but there was it almost like frosted on the figure, so all of the shine from the jacket and everything is gone. You can't see any of that, which is really disappointing, and it all just looks generally a bit grayed out, which I was very sad about. But I mean, there's nothing I can do to fix it aside from completely repainting the figure, which I don't want to do, because I'm worried that with the frosting there's a thick layer, and when I paint it again it's going to be just obscure all the details. So I'm just going to leave it how it is. But yeah, I really like this figure. This is one of my favorite figures from this year as well. I know I've just said that for Wolverine as well, but Ghost Rider's always been something that I've liked. So, I really wanted to have him in my collection, and I'm looking forward to expanding the rest of my Marvel collection. Obviously, with Infinity War coming up next year, I've got quite a few Marvel characters planned. I'm definitely going to do a Captain America because I love Captain America. There will probably be an Iron Man. Definitely going to do a Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, probably a Thor and a Hulk. Not necessarily all in their appearances from Infinity War or Ragnarok or anything else. I just definitely want to do those figures. It would be fun. And I've obviously also got my Defenders figures, which I'm working on. If you follow me on Instagram or on my Flickr page, you'll see that, those are coming along. At the moment, I'm working on Daredevil. He'll be up soon, as well as the Punisher. And yeah, it's certainly expanding my Marvel collection, and I hope you guys are enjoying the Marvel figures. If you aren't, too bad, I'm making them anyways. But leave a like if you've enjoyed this video. If you aren't already, please subscribe. I promise to not give rubbish content in the future. Look out next week for another showcase. It's not going to be Defenders, and it's not going to be the Justice League. If you follow my Instagram, you see I've just posted Batman yesterday. And the Defenders, I still have yet to post Daredevil, and I'm not going to post a showcase for the Defenders until I finish the Punisher as well, because it's going to be the 4 Defenders and the Punisher. Just makes sense. So next week I'm going to be taking a look at the other figures I've done this year, most likely Deathstroke and my PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds figure. So tune in next week. Thanks for watching. See you soon.